Happy Mardi Gras, everybody, from Northwest Florida, and welcome to the winter edition of our Seafood at Your Fingertips. Today we are going to do a real fun dish to go along with Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday shrimp and Cajun grits. And our chefs today are our own Sea Grant, Christopher Lindy from Santa Rosa County, and our Family Consumer Science agent, Dorothy Lee from Escambia County.
Hello, welcome to this edition of Seafood at Your Fingertips. Today is a special edition for Mardi Gras. And today I'll be cooking with Dorothy Lee. Rick will be giving us some information about shrimp and I think the history of Mardi Gras. We have Carrie filming, and I'm Christopher Lindy with Florida Sea Grant. And so today we're going to be cooking Fat Tuesday shrimp and Cajun grits. And it should be really, really good. So for the shrimp part of this recipe, I'm going to start by making a roux. And when you make your roux, you want to make sure that you use, the right amounts of butter and flour. So for this amount of this recipe that I'm going to make today, I'm going to use 4 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to put it into the pan that I already have turned on so it's heating up. And then I'm going to let that melt, and I'm going to add approximately 4 tablespoons of flour. And that just will cook together. I'm going to add some flavoring to it also. And then in about 30 minutes, as I whisk the flour and the butter together, it's going to turn out to be the color of a copper penny. And that's when you know that your roux is basically done. And then I'll be adding some vegetables to it and letting them cook, and then eventually about 2 pounds of shrimp, and it should be pretty good. Okay, and so now I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons of flour to my fairly hot butter. I've changed the temperature a little bit now. I'm down to just under medium. And right now, this is the important part, is that you want to continue to whisk and stir this for about 30 minutes. And you want to keep a good eye on it so that it doesn't burn. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing for about 20 or 30 minutes now. In probably about 20 minutes, I'll add some chopped garlic, some shake Cajun seasoning, some garlic powder, and some pepper, and maybe some garlic pepper. Anyways, just like to kind of get the flavors going and kind of help bring out that color of the copper penny. Okay, great. So now I've pretty much been stirring this roux. You can see it is just about the color of a copper penny. And what I'm going to add now is just a little bit of flavoring, some seasoning. So I chopped up some garlic, so I'm going to add that. And I'm going to, of course, use it all. Pardon my fingers, they are clean. And I'm going to add a little bit of Cajun seasoning and a little bit of black pepper. And then some more garlic powder just for flavor. And I only added a little bit of Cajun seasoning. I'm going to add some more once I get the liquid in. And a little bit of salt. So then I'm going to continue just to whisk that for just a few minutes together. Okay. Oh. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove it from the heat for a minute and add my vegetables. Okay, so now you can see my roux is looking really good. And so now I'm going to add my vegetables and just saute them in this roux for a little while. And then I'll add my vegetable broth and beer. So right here I've cut up, it's about probably equal 2 peppers, but it's yellow, orange, red, and green peppers, and 1 whole onion. And I used a big onion also. Woo, if I don't drop it. And this looks pretty festive, kind of Mardi Gras, appropriate for the season. So now I've got my temp set a little below medium, and I'm just going to kind of stir these vegetables around to give them a jump start on the cooking process. So I'm going to do these. And then I've got 8 ounces of chopped mushrooms. These are baby portobellos that I used. And I'm going to go ahead and add them also. So I'm going to let this cook for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my liquid, and then I'm going to simmer this mixture for about an hour or so to get all the vegetables cooked and the seasonings together also. Okay, so I've got the vegetables pretty well covered. They simmered for a little while. I've turned the heat up a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and add 16 ounces of beer. And a The beer just gives it some kind of a more richness, kind of malty, and it adds a really nice flavor. Then I'm going to add approximately 16 ounces. I always use vegetable broth, but I don't really like chicken, so that's why. But you can use any kind of broth that you want, except probably beef broth wouldn't be very good. But you can make your own broth too with, by cooking different types of seafood shells together, and then it's a really rich seafoody broth also. So I think I'll add a little bit more broth. And now, like I said, I'm just going to let this simmer for an hour. Okay, so now the vegetables have been cooking for approximately 45 minutes or so. You can see they're just about done. The broth is not very thick, and so I think what I'm going to do is just add a little bit more flour. Not a lot, but just to get it a little bit thicker. It smells great for those of you out there. But I'm just going to stir this in, and I've done this before, and it doesn't hurt it. It does cook into it so you don't have a flour flavor of the broth. So one of the things I'm going to get ready to do is I'm going to thaw the shrimp also and get it ready to add to the broth and the vegetables. And so the kind of shrimp I'm using today is basically Gulf shrimp. I got it at a local seafood market. It's frozen. It's already peeled and frozen. And I buy this a lot just simply because then it's in my freezer, and I can always have a shrimp meal whenever I want. And 1 pound of shrimp is pretty much, for this, I am going to put 2 pounds in because I do like it shrimpy in addition to thick and spicy. Anyways, so that's where I got this. Remember, when you're looking at shrimp, you can buy frozen shrimp most anywhere. When you're buying, any kind of seafood that was raised or harvested within the United States, they're highly regulated to maintain populations, be sustainable, and then also be there's not health risks usually associated. So they're regulated from when they catch the seafood all the way through to when they're processed and being sold. And so when you're buying USA caught seafood, you're in good hands. Okay, and so we're back right now, and we've got the right thickness of the broth. The vegetables are cooked. I added the rest of the garlic and the pepper that I had here. Really, that's flavoring to taste what you like. So now I'm going to add about approximately 2 pounds of the frozen shrimp that I thawed out. And so I'm going to just add it in here. Move this. Whoops, 1 more shrimp. And then I'm just going to stir it, and the shrimp will probably take about 15 minutes or so. And we've got the delicious grits, and we're going to be eating fine in just a short while.
Shrimp. I mean, this is like everyone's favorite seafood. And we've actually done some surveys through the Marine Science Academy here in one of the high schools. And over those years that we did those surveys, we interviewed the students, we interviewed other students at the school, we interviewed their parents, their family members, and even people at seafood markets. And unanimously, I mean, there's a variety. You'll notice a difference between male and female as far as what 2, 3, 4 are, but shrimp is number 1 with all age groups all the way across the board. This is an extremely popular seafood item here in the United States. Interesting enough, though, if you go back to the earliest part of the 20th century, it wasn't. It was more of an ethnic food here in the state of Florida. It wasn't until about World War II that a lot of folks started getting interested in eating shrimp, and a lot of it had to do with, after the war, folks from the Gulf Coast who, of course, entered the war, married people from other parts of the country who never even thought of eating shrimp. They just discovered shrimp, and so it very quickly became extremely popular across the country. So the demand for this product is insane. Growing up here in Pensacola, it was not unheard of to see 15, 20 boats on the bay at any given afternoon. They always went out late in the afternoon, late in the evening, fished all night. You could drive across a 3-mile bridge at night and just see the lights all over the bay where their shrimpers were at work. And then, of course, coming in at dawn. Many of them would come in at the port of Pensacola down at what we called the Municipal Auditorium at that time. The boats would all line up, and then you just drive down and they would sell it right off the boat. And it was wonderful. It was just a great time. Demand is still high, but the businesses are struggling here in our area anyway. I can't speak for the rest of Florida, but in Pensacola, it's rare to see a boat out more than once a month. We still have a fishing fleet here. We had about 40 or 50 boats at one time. The last I heard, we had about 11. Most of those are shrimping other waters. That's another issue. There's some closed areas here that they can't shrimp anymore. And in those who are in the business, the 11 that we still have around, most of their kids are not interested in taking this on. I studied marine science at Dolphin Island Sea Lab, met a lot of the crew that worked the research vessels there were actually shrimpers from Biola Battery. We used to take a field trip over there to see that whole process, what goes on in Biola Battery. And you guys all know from Forrest Gump, all the different ways you can do shrimp. That town is a shrimp town. I mean, everybody in that community, if you're not a shrimper, you're a boat builder, an engine repairer. You build nets, you work in the processing plant, you devein shrimp. Everybody, their whole livelihood of that community is based around this animal. And again, it was extremely profitable and still is. We have basically 3 types of shrimp around here. We have the bay shrimp, or brown shrimp as it's called. A lot of locals will call it the bays or the brownies. A smaller one, but really good for certain dishes. The Gulf shrimp, or white shrimp, is more in the lower parts of the bay, and then you'll find them in the pass as they migrate back and forth, and some of those get pretty large. We got some large ones. And then there's the pink shrimp, which we don't see as much here in the northern Gulf. They're there, but a lot of that is popular from Central and South Florida, and of course they're shipped in. Which is, again, you've probably heard or read this before, almost 80% of the seafood that you purchase anywhere around here now, other than the local markets, is imported from South America or Asia. So the decline of the shrimping in the industry or in the area has certainly been noticeable. We will see what happens in the future, since the kids of those folks don't want to continue. And as I was saying, working with the Biola Battery folks, it is extremely hard work. A lot of the kids in that community, they know they're going to be shrimpers. A lot of them get married literally in high school because that's the tradition, that's the family tradition. And so the young kids get on the boat, they work the nets, work the lines, maintain the motors. And then when you reach around 35, 40 years old, you literally just can't physically do it anymore. Well, now it's time for you to drive the boat. So it's a very family-oriented business industry. But an extremely popular seafood. And I know you guys are going to enjoy this. It's Mardi Gras season. We have the blessing of the fleet up here. That's a big deal in the Northern Gulf, where the bishop from Mobile comes out and he blesses all the shrimpers before they head out for shrimping season in the early spring. And so, of course, there's a lot of festivities going on with Mardi Gras, which began in Mobile, Alabama. That's where it all started. New Orleans has got the big show, but it's Mobile all along the Gulf Coast. Biloxi, Gulfport, Pensacola. This is a fun season. It's going to be a little different this year with COVID, but it's a fun time of year, and I think you're really going to enjoy Fat Tuesday shrimp with Cajun grits.
Our dish is the Cajun grits. Grits is a southern dish that originated in New Orleans and is traditionally served for breakfast or even for a brunch side dish and so forth. It can be spicy with adding a lot of hot spices to the dish, or it can be creamy with butter and milk. It can be made with water as the base, or by adding chicken broth or some type of vegetable broth even to the dish. Today what I'm going to be using is water. I'm going to use 4 cups of water. And I'm going to bring the water to a roaring boil before I start to add the grits. So it will take a few minutes for our water to reach the boiling stage. So we have 4 cups there. And once it reaches the boiling stage, I'm going to start adding some of the other ingredients to our dish. Our water has reached the boiling point, and now I'm going to add a little bit of butter. I have about 2 tablespoons of butter that I'm going to add to our boiling water, and kind of melt that just a little bit here in our hot boiling water. And I'm going to add to the 4 cups of water and the 2 tablespoons of butter, I'm going to add a cup of instant grits, and I'm going to use a whisk to stir, and that's the key to making a good product here with grits, is to make sure that you constantly stir with a wooden spoon or with a whisk. I prefer a whisk, and that prevents it from lumping. Now usually when grits and water and butter all kind of come together and mix, that starts to get hot, it's going to pop up and boil. So be careful as it starts to get a little hotter, it will pop. I've read several ways to prevent that, but as of yet, I really haven't been able to do so other than turning down the heat source just a little bit. Oftentimes will help with that. So we're going to cook our grits, our water, and our butter for about 5 minutes. These are 5-minute instant grits. So, and then we'll be ready to add some of the other ingredients that really makes this dish the Cajun grits. Our grits have cooked for 5 minutes and they have started to thicken. And so now I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of half and half. This makes it nice and creamy. And I'm going to whisk the cream into our grits. And as you can see, it's starting now to thicken because of the cream that I've just added to it. Our next addition would be our spices, which makes this the Cajun spicy grits. So I'm using about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons, depending on how spicy you like your grits, of Creole seasoning. And we're going to whisk that into our grits. Okay, see how, okay, just a little bit of salt. Just gonna lightly salt it because the Cajun seasoning has some salt added to the mixture. Okay, so grits are starting to thicken. And next I'm going to add some cheese. You can add any type of cheese. I have about 1 cup of shredded mild cheddar cheese. I'm going to mix that into our mixture. Okay, and as it dissolves, and there we have our spicy Cajun grits ready to plate, to be served with breakfast, to be served as a side dish with fish. It can be served with different types of foods, and also for a breakfast side dish.